What's up, everybody? This is Elektron from ElektronSound.com, and today I'm going to show you how to edit your vocals down to sound like Dua Lipa's. So when I think of Dua Lipa's vocals, I think of crystal clear, minimal invasiveness with plugins. So we're going to use our plugins very lightly to preserve as much of the original vocal as possible and not make it sound overprocessed or anything like that. This vocal editing will be very, very clean, very straightforward. We will need a chain of plugins. We're going to have to use a reverb plugin, delay. We're definitely going to have to EQ these vocals. We're going to have to compress them and de-ess them. And after that, I'm going to listen through, make sure that's everything we need. Before we get into that, I definitely want to run through my comments from the last video and give a couple shout outs to people who have been killing it in the comments section lately. We got Phantom X, you've been killing it, bro. We have Haddon, Jumpers, we have Jackie La, and we got Nick Chambers. Shout out to all of you guys. You guys have been killing it in the comments lately. And I know those comments all come with nice thumbs up, and that stuff keeps me going every single day. You have no idea. I appreciate it so much. So thanks so much, guys. So what we're going to do in this video is I'm going to open up a project. The project we're going to be working in today is called On and Off Love. It's a project Lauren and I made a little while ago. It's a pop song, a pop electronic song. So what not a better song to use for this video. It's called On and Off Love. I'm going to leave a link to that in the description if you guys want to check that out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dry the vocals out, take the unedited raw vocal stem, and then edit them down and show you the entire process that you would use to get that crystal clear Dua Lipa vocal sound. So let's get into it. Alright, so here we are in the project. We're in the second verse of the project, and the vocals sound like this. Oops.
Tell me why you can never decide. 1 minute you're breaking my heart, then the next I'm the love of your life.
First thing you want to do with any vocal is get all of these little waves as consistent as possible. So you can see down here we have a little bit more gain in these, and they're definitely a little bit more quiet down here. So before I get into any effect plugins, I want to get these as consistent as possible so that all of the effect plugins are working as evenly as possible. If you have really quiet signals and really loud signals going into, say, a reverb plugin or a delay plugin, the quieter signals aren't gonna sound like aren't gonna have as much reverb and delay gain as the louder signals, and also that works the same with compression. These will be compressing more and these will be compressing less because there's less input gain. So the best thing you can do is get these all looking similar as possible. So I'm just going to take these and up the gain on these so that they look as close to these as possible. And that would be the best look for going into our first plugin, which is going to be a compressor. I'm going to use my compressor of choice. I would highly recommend a high performance compressor, or in other words, a paid third-party compressor. They just go farther, they work harder. Logic's compressors are good, but they don't work as fast, and in my opinion, you're just going to get a better result if you have a high-quality paid third-party compressor. My compressor of choice for vocals will always be the Fab Filter Pro C.
Tell me why.
And so when I compress these, I'm just going to go to a point where there's enough vocal to play around with.
1 minute you break.
And I'm going to use my threshold to kind of over compress.
1 minute you breaking my heart, then the next I'm the love of your life. 1 minute.
Obviously she has a little pitch issue here, but we can fix that easily later. As long as every word in the line is not off pitch, you can get away with some slight pitch editing and it won't even sound like you processed it at all. But if your singer's all over the place, that's going to be really hard for you to auto-tune and fix pitches all the time. So when I compress, I leave my ratio around 2 to 4. No more than that, because then it just kind of gets into limiting. I'd rather use a limiter to limit rather than use a compressor to limit. So I'm going to run down this threshold here. I like making my attack and my release as fast as I possibly can, and because it gives like this little edge and airiness to the high frequency part of the vocal. And then what you do is you run that through a deesser and it just sounds crystal clear. Also, when I edit vocals, I put my knee as hard as possible, just to get as much compression as possible. And what compression is going to do is it's going to take like these louder peaks and it's going to kind of push them down to these quieter peaks so that all the vocal is as loud as the last word and will be the same loudness as the next word. And that is compression and how it works. So let's go down here and make sure we're not going too crazy here. So we're going to leave it at that. I'm not going to go any harder. Depending on the song, you might want to over compress more, or you might want to under compress more. Depends what kind of music you're working with. But for a pop song, I'm probably going to leave my compression at that. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to EQ these vocals. And so what I'm going to do first thing is come down here to this low cut, or like low cut all the way up to around here. The basses and chords can sit down here and they're just fine. They don't need any help from the vocal down here. So we can take out as much as we can of this vocal before it starts to sound bad and before it really starts losing, you know, important information. So for example, this might be too much. Somebody was singing to you on a phone, it would probably sound like that.
Tell me why you can never decide.
There we go. So I'm probably gonna leave it around there. Let's be safe. Let's just go down.
Tell me why.
Also, this is like a big thing too. I like to roll off a little bit easy on this end, just so they're not completely chopped.
Tell me why.
So I'm going to leave it like that for now. The next thing we're going to do is the most important thing, which is de-essing. Getting rid of those S's and other hard letters like P's, F's, D's. This is extremely, extremely important. If you don't do this, then your vocals will never sound radio quality. Anything that's on the radio will not have any crazy annoying artifacts to listen to. And I have a rule with vocals, and that is if it's not a lyric and it's not a tone, then cut it out. And so any sort of noise is not a lyric and not a tone. So we're going to cut it out. I like to use my third-party deesser from Fab Filter. I don't like the Logic deesser. It's very buggy, and it works well sometimes, but it does this thing where it spreads the S's, and it gets really, really annoying to work with. So I had to stop using it. I use two deessers. I use one for the hard letters and then one for the high frequencies. And that's what's cool about this deesser. It has this all-around mode and this single vocal mode. And we're going to use the single vocal mode first to get those hard letters, those S's, those D's, F's, P's, anything where your mouth comes together and makes a sound. We're going to get rid of those. First thing I like to do before I get into de-essing is see where her S's are popping. So she's up here by 9,000 and 10,000 hertz. So I'm going to tell my deesser, and Logic's deesser does the same thing. You can choose which area of this EQ you want it to concentrate on the most. But I'm going to do it in this one. Let's get down here. Let's just go down to 8,000. So we have the best chance of getting rid of all those vocals. Let's pull our threshold down a little bit so that we get at least, I don't know, 4 to 5 decibels of gain reduction. That's what I'm shooting for. Sometimes you can't get all of that because it starts to duck and it sounds really bad. You don't want to overdo a deesser because then, yeah, it will sound bad. So that's where we're going to stop using this because it's doing what it has to do. Next plugin I'm going to use is the second deesser, and this one's going to be for those high frequencies. Sometimes one Deesser isn't even strong enough for all of the S's anyway. So my brother just came in, interrupted my video shoot, and he was like, "Yo Alex, I've been using OTT on my guitars and it sounds sick." Next plugin we're going to use is a little bit of reverb. I'm going to use Logic's Chroma Verb reverb plugin here because it's a simple reverb, doesn't have much artifacts to it, and it's very straightforward. I'm going to leave it on room here, the room setting here. Put my density up, put my size up.
On and off laugh makes my head spin, but that's all I know. On and off laugh makes my head spin, but that's all.
And then I'm going to get a delay plugin. You can use Logic's delay, or you can use your third-party delay plugin of choice. Mine happens to be H delay from Waves, and it's just what I'm used to, so I'm going to use this one, but Logic's delay will work totally fine. My delay of choice would be a ping pong delay at a desired rate. I was listening to Dua Lipa's New Rules, and there's a very faint delay signal in the background. It's not that big and obvious like an electronic song would be, but it is a pop song, so we have to remember that. So there's not going to be too much invasive delay on this vocal. With your delay, you do want to high cut and or high pass and low pass the delay signal. Logic's can do that, so don't forget to do that.
On and off laugh makes my head spin, but that's all I know. On and off laugh makes my head spin, but that's all I know.
And right there, we have a crispy vocal. But there is one more thing that we want to do before we call this vocal done and clean. And it's probably one of the most important parts of editing vocals. And that is chopping out all this in-between stuff. You could use a new noise gate, but I think the human hand is a little bit more capable than a noise gate when it comes to editing vocals for a track. Like unless you're on the radio and you're podcasting hours of talking, where a noise gate would actually benefit you. We want to take care of this stuff with our hands, because there will be blank spaces that we're going to want to keep and blank spaces that we're going to want to get rid of. And this just helps with getting rid of all of that noise that you don't want in your vocal.
Tell me why. Tell me why.
See, there's that little breath at the end there, so I like to press down those breaths.
Tell me why. Tell me why.
So that one kind of stops on a dime, so I'm going to try to press that down.
Tell me why. You can tell me why. You can never decide.
So right here, that D also comes with a breath, so I'm going to press that down.
You can never decide.
I do want to hear it. I don't want to get rid of it completely.
You can never decide.
And just like that, that D should be very, very light. That last letter should always be light and non-intrusive. And usually the last letter comes with a little bit of breath as the singer is going to exhale, like usually right after a line, they let out a nice breath. So you want to tame that breath as best as you can. Some breaths are good, but that breath, usually you want to get rid of that one. But that's super important. Cut those blank areas out. I personally would do it with my hands manually rather than use a noise gate or anything like that, because noise gates get pretty annoying. But there you go, guys. There are your edited vocals, as clean as vocals that you would hear in a Dua Lipa track or any electronic pop song for that matter. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you took any value from this video, I'd really appreciate hearing your thoughts in the comments section and a nice thumbs up. And if you're new here, definitely subscribe to my channel and turn on the notifications so that you can be notified next time I put out a tutorial or another beat making video. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace out.